Welcome once again to Real People Talk. Today I want to talk about perceptual filters. I guarantee you, if you just listened to my talk called Asking the Right Questions, I challenged some of your perceptual filters, pushed some of your buttons. So what are perceptual filters? How do we get perceptual filters? How do we attain them? How do we create them? Let's start at the very beginning. When you're born, you are a blank slate. Actually, scientists call you a blank slate and say that you're just nothing but a big blob of stuff that needs to accumulate information. Somewhat that's true, and somewhat that's not, because personally I believe you exist before you're born. So you're not a blank slate. However, your brain and the nerve paths in your body, that they are blank, and you do need experience. So you're a big blob. You're born, you hear sounds, you feel sensations, so you do gain new experience. You hear your mother's voice, your father's voice. That creates pathways in your brain. Those sounds, light and sound, which I would love to get into eventually. Light and sound, the importance of light and sound. But anyway, they create pathways in your brain. Cow paths of the mind. You can think of them that way. Those are the avenues through which the synapses fire, the neurons travel, so that you feel comfortable. So that when you have an experience, this is I recognize this. I recognize that voice. That's the voice of my mother. Or that's my name being called. The way that you are introduced to the world by your parents, those pathways that are built in your brain, they create a sensation in you where you either feel comfortable or you don't feel comfortable. So why is that important? When I gave the talk, I mentioned topics that are perhaps not things that you've thought of before. Here's an excellent example. Do you remember on 9/11 when you first saw the towers falling? Do you remember how that felt? You felt alone. You felt confused. And the reason why is because your brain had no pathways to filter that information. It was new. So we were then taught from that moment on by news. Actually, news and school perhaps, teachers, religious leaders. We were taught, how do we deal with what we just learned? You had to create new pathways in your brain. We've done that now. We've created some new pathways. Well, what pathways have you created? Are they pathways that are going to benefit you? Or are they pathways that are a kind of manipulation, a kind of maneuvering you, manipulating you into a particular way of thinking? I want you to begin to let go of the perceptual filters that are not benefiting you, that are holding you back. I want you to graduate to original thought. Thinking your own original thoughts. It is possible. How did Albert Einstein create? How did Mozart compose if they didn't go someplace that gave them the ability to have original thoughts? They were not determined by how they were raised, by what their parents taught them, by what society thought, because society doesn't think around the terms of what physicists today think. They have original thoughts. You can do it too. That's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to help you recognize your perceptual filters. How they're holding you back, how they're opening you up to new avenues of thought. I want to challenge more of your perceptual filters. I want you to think for yourself. Don't go around confused and dazed, like that movie's called. Confused and dazed. We live our lives sleepwalking. if we live our lives confused and dazed, if we follow the same pathways in our brain that we've always followed, if we only stay within our comfort zone, we don't challenge ourselves to a new kind of thinking, a new kind of world. And I'm saying that you can do that. You can wake up. In the next Real People Talk, I'm going to discuss waking up. How do we wake up? What is that? What benefits will you find to waking up? So that's where we're going to go in the next Real People Talk. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and as always, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day if you choose to. Thank you, and good night.